should men have a say? Pro versus anti-abortion teens.
You are arguing.
And this one has actually teenagers in it. So, like, it's going to be even more fucking unhinged.
For the slaughter of human beings because you're pro-choice. And I'm standing here in where
strong word.
a fetus cannot.
You said killing a fetus, so it's not a strong word.
It's really not. But could I just finish my statement?
I know Kai is biting the bars. I think this is going to be yet another instance where I lose my motherfucking mind. Jubilee's done did it again.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. I have had unprotected sex.
Okay, those two have not had sex. Okay, those are the pro-lifers.
So I see we all been getting it on. About that.
The first time that I had sex, I didn't have the knowledge that I should have. I think I didn't know what Plan B was until I started having sex. That just like, maybe I missed that day in class, but that was not taught in sex ed. So I didn't know what Plan B was until I started having sex.
I'm gonna take Kai out.
But now I'm a lot
I'll be back
more
in a
educated,
second.
a lot more comfortable. Like I'm on birth control. But obviously, like birth control isn't always effective, isn't always accessible. So I understand like my privilege in that.
Well, the first time that I had unprotected sex was a couple months ago with my fiance. We're both adults, and we were in a real period of grief because I had just had a miscarriage, I think about a month before, after we'd had protected sex.
The first time that I had unprotected sex was unprotected sex was with the person that I am currently married to. We got married straight out of high school. I was 18. It was like a week after I graduated. And we're really happy together. And we love the idea of having a child, you know. Currently pregnant right now.
Heck
Second
yeah.
trimester. That's, you know, so clearly I had unprotected sex to get here.
Are you going to college, or do you have a job? Like how's that working?
So I mainly do activism. I try to advocate for people who are in the same position as the person inside of me right now. And I think that the value of their life is intrinsic to every fetus. So honestly, right now, I'm just chilling as an activist.
But do you make money?
Sometimes, if my followers give me some.
Sick.
Depends. When you were having unprotected sex, would you say that you would have been financially stable enough to have a child?
No.
No? Would you say you would have been emotionally ready enough to have a child?
No.
Okay. All right, then.
I think I was in kind of a similar situation to you. Not so much because I was pressured by a partner or anything like that, but because the sex ed courses that we had, like yours was lacking, were very lacking in terms of queer sexual education. And the sex I was having, I thought I didn't need any kind of protection for it because I was sleeping with people who couldn't get me pregnant.
The first time I've ever had unprotected sex, I was young enough to not know what sex even was. So I was very much manipulated and groomed by someone in my life to think that what I was doing was okay and normal. And that scared me because, you know, when I finally told my parents, it wasn't a really good conversation where they were like, of course they were shocked because that person is in our family. And they were like, that isn't real, you're just trying to get it for attention kind of thing. And then, but in a sense I knew that they believed me because we went to some dingy ass Walmart and bought a pregnancy test because they were like, if you are pregnant, you can't tell anyone that it's his. You have to say that we adopted another child and you would have to keep that baby. I did not want to have a baby at a very young age. I was not emotionally ready, I was not financially ready. I was still in school trying to think like I have a future for myself that I want to do, you know? Fortunately, I was not pregnant.
Do you think that people can't achieve bright futures when they have children?
They can achieve bright futures if they have a child. I just knew that I wouldn't have been able to achieve that future.
Well, there are like resources available, particularly for people who are student parents, for people.
I like that they Just straight up say anti-abortion, by the way. Like, that's a big mark for Jubilee. I mean, big points for Jubilee. Instead of saying like pro-life, they just straight up say anti-abortion.
Or on-campus parents who have children, babies, toddlers, children of all ages. There are also resources in terms of crisis pregnancy centers, also known as pregnancy help centers. There's thousands of them across the U.S. There's 5 crisis pregnancy centers for every Planned Parenthood. And so I think that a lot of these resources are not made known. I think that a lot of people kind of get into the situation of being pregnant and nobody's telling them about these resources, and then they think that they can't do it, and then they get an abortion that they might not have actually wanted. They felt like they had to.
Do you feel like that was your situation? Do you feel like you didn't want to have an abortion, like if it happened?
I think that because I grew up in a very conservative home, so abortion wasn't even in the picture. I wasn't even allowed to have that idea. And like thinking of it now, like, yeah, there are crisis centers, but we're also going through like baby formula shortage. Like, there's not even paid parental leave. So if we're going to be able to bring a child into this world, I think we should fight for more health care that is free for women or people who can give birth. And especially since I was at a very young age, I honestly just didn't know what I would do in that situation.
For me, when I started engaging in intercourse, I started out using protection. I've been volunteering with Planned Parenthood since I was about 15. When I was a junior in high school, I've had an intense passion for reproductive rights. So I immediately, as soon as I knew that that resource was accessible to me, I put myself on birth control. But unfortunately, birth control isn't the end-all be-all. And from putting myself on several forms of birth control, I realized that the adverse effects of birth control can be very, very altering. And currently, I'm in a very long-term committed relationship with my boyfriend. And of course, when you have someone attractive, you want to have sex with them. And he's the first person I've really started participating in unprotected sex with.
All right, can the disagreeer step forward?
I've not had sex yet, and that's just because
Called it.
of my religious ethical code and moral code. I'm a Catholic. I've been raised in a Christian household, and
Fucking
I just don't
called
see that as
it,
something
dude.
that's beneficial or valuable to my life at this point. There's been times when I've questioned if I was ready and
Also, Braden is a classic. Classic. All the HasanAbi heads know Braden is such a classic name for the next gen. Oh shit, she back at it. She's back at it again. Come on, Kaya. Good job, Kaya. Get in there. Puzzle.
question my faith, but I've always just kind of found my way back to the church and agreeing with the church's teachings. So I've never really had a desire, and I was in foster care as a child, and so I witnessed a lot of sexual violence there, and it's just been one of those things I almost feel like just subconsciously I've never really wanted. So I really don't see myself like living in a sexual relationship with another at this time in my life, just because it just isn't really what I feel like is right for me.
Sort of in the same boat. I'm Catholic as well, but I'm not. I haven't had sex before. It's not just because I'm Catholic. It's like there are other reasons as to why I haven't, such as pair bonding, and I think just it helps to keep the marital act within marriage because newsflash, sex makes babies. So I think it's just good for a child to have a mother and father, because when families are sort of separated, it causes a lot of problems for children, especially like with divorce. Now it's like surveys have shown that divorce is often worse than the death of a parent, just because it's just like, at least you know, like when the parent has passed, it's like they didn't leave you behind. So
I have two questions for you. The first one is, where did you get those surveys from?
I don't remember. I was just in passing, but
That's
I don't
fine.
really know.
The second thing I wanted to ask, you said something about sex always making babies. Well, you didn't say always. You said sex makes babies, and I would love to challenge that a little bit.
Did he say he like in passing conducted surveys? Like, was he implying that he was conducting surveys himself? As in, like, he tried to sneak in information that he got through anecdotes as data? Or does he mean like he heard from other people about these surveys? I love hearing about surveys. They're always telling me about that. They're always telling me about surveys.
It's not the only reason for like sex. It's just like you have the pair bonding and sort of the emotional going on between the two people, but sort of like the telos, the primary purpose of it, sort of is for that. But there's other legitimate sort of secondary reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you would say that the primary purpose of all sex is babies?
Because I wouldn't say all sex, because there's times where you can't conceive because like the woman cycles, so she's not always fertile. But I think it's just the natural order of that act is for having children.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what they were getting at is to not assume that all sex is heterosexual. So
Yeah, that is a pretty heteronormative view. I completely validate and respect that you don't want to have sex for you. But for those of us who can't even ever, for any reason, get pregnant during sex, I think it's a little reductive to assume that that's like the reason people would do it.
I think there's also a difference between reproductive sex and non-reproductive
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah.
Like, let's be so for real. There's so many things you can do to not get pregnant and still have sex with somebody.
I'm obviously not Catholic, but I think that, but I think it's also important to remember that, you know, Catholics and people who do believe that sex should be within marriage also acknowledge that there's types of sex, like oral sex, for example, that you don't conceive children by. So I think maybe not to put words in your mouth, but maybe what Luke is referring to specifically is coitus and not other types of sex.
Yeah, because people can mean different things by sex. It's like
It's a very general term.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Ragini, the director of this episode. Please like this video if you enjoy watching it and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's get back to the video. I have had an abortion.
Damn.
I had mine about 1.5 years ago. And I've never felt shame, never felt regret. I've never even second guessed my choice. Surprisingly, my parents are Middle Eastern immigrants, and they were very supportive. The 9 months of pregnancy isn't considered to be a challenge in its own. It's like, oh, you know, you can give the child up for adoption. Oh, there are like resources, there are crisis pregnancy centers, but those 9 months, that's still morning sickness. That's still doctor visits. I had to go to the ER in the very short time that it took me finding out that I was pregnant to getting the actual abortion because I thought I had an ectopic pregnancy because that's what my gynecologist told me. There are so many things to consider. I can't go to school if I'm sick, if I'm already, you know, mental health isn't something that's secure for me. And then on the top of that, I'm gonna.
Yes, abortion is normal in the Middle East. And also, I mean, Turkey has a public healthcare system. It's nationalized. There's private elements as well. But for the record, for those of you who don't know, in Turkey, the government technically, HasanAbi. In Turkey, the government is technically paying for abortions. You know what I mean? You can get a free abortion at a government hospital. And Turkey is not exactly known as a beacon of like progressive values. After all, Erdogan recently won, and the first thing he said was that his opponents were all, you know, on the LGBT team. Okay, like that's Turkey. Japan is weirdly anti-abortion. Yeah, I think they have a good reason for that. I mean, not that there's any good reason to like rid women of bodily autonomy, but you know, look at their fucking population, dog. That's LGBT'ciler. That's how Erdogan said it. That's how Erdogan said, you know, that's how he referred to his opposition.
Gonna have to deal with thinking about
LGBT.
this pregnancy. Are people gonna judge me for being a teen mom?
Okay, so I had an abortion fairly recently. I had one about 2 to 3 days before my recent birthday last year in November. It was a very unexpected event. I remember having symptoms almost immediately. I was about 6 weeks, I believe, five weeks and 7 days. I actually did not suspect I was pregnant because I had been going through some traumatic life events that threw my cycle off. My period was on average 40 days late, so I just didn't suspect anything when I was 6 days late that past cycle. And my boyfriend, who I was confiding in at the time and telling about my...
For the record, one other conversation piece that gets lost in the sauce regularly in the abortion conversation is this notion that like prehistoric societies or even like everything outside of like contemporary Western societies, select few contemporary Western societies, abortion has always been frowned upon or whatever. That is the furthest from the truth. Benjamin Franklin quite literally had home remedies, concoctions that you could fucking use in his math book, okay, to conduct at-home abortions, okay? The idea like abortion is such a normal process that it quite literally is like older than modern medicine, okay? It was perfectly normal back then. It's still perfectly fucking normal. It's just like the white evangelical Protestants do not consider it to be normal, and they are a very, very active and very important base of voters for the Republican Party. So now we all have to act like this is a real 50-50 issue.
My current bodily circumstances had a feeling beyond me, the woman in this equation who should know what's going on. He was the one that prompted me to
Yeah, Benny Franks was a bit of a fuckboy too. That's probably the reason why he was like on board with that
go
shit.
get a test because he felt that I was pregnant. And when we found out, it was a shock. I'm the type of person when in my relationships, I make very clear my positions on how I am with abortion and pregnancy and child rearing. I'm very transparent in that matter because there should be no room for error in that case, but that's because I'm fortunate enough to be educated in that manner. I'm a volunteer with Planned Parenthood, so I knew the resources available to me, and at that time, when I did conceive, it was not when I was on birth control. And so partially, I take responsibility for the circumstances that led to the conception of that pregnancy. Although I'm very grateful and I'm very appreciative that I had access to this form of healthcare, it was something that I grieved heavily. It was something that my boyfriend grieved heavily. We were not ecstatic to have done this. We were not happy that we had to make this choice. But because of our plans as individuals, as adults, and our life plan is to get married, is to complete school, and to maximize our chances of being the parents that we want to be, I felt it irresponsible to be selfish and say, well, I want a baby and I don't want to make that hard choice to terminate. But when you think of somebody else, and that would have been another individual, you have to think what's best for them if they were to be born. And I'm not in a position to where I could emotionally, financially, nor physically provide for a child. Whereas if I would do the hard thing now, later on down the line, when I improve my circumstances, I can be the mother that I want to be instead of disadvantaging myself and that person who did not ask to be put in that situation.
I commend you for coming in front of like a camera and saying that.
Yeah. My parents don't even know either.
Yeah, mine.
Braden and Constant are organizers for PAAU and stole 115 aborted fetuses and displayed them in a video and kept some at a white lady's house. Wait, Braden and Constance are from that fucking org? That organization is insane, dude. Wait, no shot. That's the organization that they're a part of? The one that like literally where the lady had to go to jail. The lady went to jail. That lady literally went to jail. She stole a bunch of fucking fetuses and like, they stole a bunch of fetuses and then kept them in like, wait, hold up. Yeah, those people are like the most mentally ill, just the most normal abortion, anti-abortion advocates. Hold on, let me look this up. Police say 5 fetuses found in a DC home where the anti-abortion activist is believed to live. What's the... Come on, just tell me what the fucking goddamn organization is. PAAU organized to destroy pro-abortion arguments. Fucking 31 likes. It doesn't even matter that these guys don't have a poppin'. No, they don't. They just get fucking heavily funded, even if they're not popping. Where is it? Oh my god! Oh my god! It is that progressive anti-abortion uprising. Jubilee, what the fuck are you guys doing, man? That's insane. Jubilee put in front of people who have had abortions and just like normal fucking teenagers, in front of them, they put two anti-abortion activists that work for an organization who had someone in their leadership committee get arrested for stealing fetuses. Wait, the tweet says 3? Our organizer, Ayala, Braden, and Constance were invited by Jubilee Media. 3! 3 of them are PAAU.
I don't either. I need to figure out a way to tell them.
Yeah.
I'm just going to block Jubilee from their YouTube.
Oh, it wasn't 15 fetuses, sorry. The abortion group took 115 fetuses from a medical waste truck, but the police only found 5 of those fetuses in this house. That's crazy. I get it. Like, it's probably not that easy to find like normal anti-abortion advocates that aren't like activists for some fucking psychotic freak operation, especially when they're like teenagers. But like, goddamn, dude, 3 out of 4 were literally fucking cursed side quests. Yeah, yo, this is literally a Witcher side quest, dude. That's what they were doing.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you for sharing those experiences with us, because I could hear in your voice, even though I couldn't see your face. It's difficult to share. And I'm so sorry that you had that period of grief and those experiences.
Thank you.
I've miscarried twice. And taking the abortion pill, I know, though it is a different process, it's not dissimilar in the function of it to
You can't be rocking a fucking Star of David and be anti-abortion. Like, that shit doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Wait, they called it a rescue? Breaking this morning, PAAU Director of Activism Lauren Handy was arrested and is currently being detained by the FBI in connection with a rescue from 2 years ago in Washington, D.C. We are expecting her to be charged and released by this afternoon. We'll keep you updated. They called stealing 115 fetuses from a medical waste truck as a rescue operation. What the fuck is being rescued? Dude, I'm sorry. These people all need to go to fucking jail, okay? They all need to go to jail. Also, progressive grassroots activists. Wait, they have the LGBT. Wait, what? Equality. Black Lives Matter, trans rights, uprising, pro-life, protect the unborn, justice, direct action. Bro, what is going on, dude? They are a progressive grassroots activist, anti-abortion activist. Wait, what? Content warning murder victims? They are not. No. They are not opening up boxes of fucking medical waste. Bro, that is the most unholy unboxing I have ever seen, okay? Dude, these people have fucking actual brain worms, dude. What the fuck is going on? That is some real freak shit, dog. That is actually fucking insane. That is insane. It's pretty funny that they're progressive anti-abortion activists. Dude, holy fuck. 3 clicks and we found out that this Jubilee video is like tainted.
A miscarriage. But you did say something that I thought was interesting. You said you think it's selfish to bring a child into a situation where
Like 3 of these people stole. I wonder if they actually played a role. Like 3 of these people were in an organization that stole medical waste and then unboxed the fetuses, dude. Yo, I see a lot of fucked up shit. Some would say professionally, I'm a watcher of fucked up shit, right? And this kind of takes the cake. Like this might be one of the most insane things I've encountered in a Jubilee video. It's also wild because Braden used to be a HasanAbi head. No, he wasn't. Shut the fuck up. He was a fucking leftist, bro. Wait, no shot. I mean, he's not the weirdest. I'm not gonna lie, he's not the weirdest person that has like been a downtrodden fan. You know what I mean? Fan to fucking enemy. I fucking cultivate them here. Okay. Here. Leftist, Catholic, vegan, pro-life. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that like he's a HasanAbi head. Don't put this shit on me, okay? Look. He never sent me a box of fetuses, okay, in my P.O. box unboxing. Clearly he's not a HasanAbi head. Okay? But to be fair, oh my God, I almost fucking showed you the unboxed fetuses. To be fair. Like I said, there's way more famous and way worse HasanAbi head to like grifter Andes out there that we don't even mention. Okay? Like I myself and Felix have basically, Felix Biederman of Chapo Trap House, have basically cultivated, like, we are responsible for like a big chunk of like the fucking gross weirdos online that wanted attention from us, and then we didn't give them enough of the attention. Felix way more on Twitter, but I have more quality, I would say. Quality in the grifter space. He has more quantity in Twitter. He owns the Twitter part. But I have a lot of dudes who were big fans in here who became like the most unhinged motherfuckers. Hoscourt has also created villain grifters. Yes, that too. Mostly because at the top of the hour, I serve a 3-minute ad break. So I can't even fucking blame them. Because at the top of the hour, a 3-minute ad break hits them in the fucking face and they're like, oh, I'm dropping everything. Your creatures are more successful. That's why, yeah, that's what I mean. Felix's reply guys have become like, well, they've become podcasters, but that area is so, you know, that there's too many of them to like pay attention to. But my reply guys have basically turned into like, you know, video grifters. Yeah, that market is saturated. Like, I'm talking top of the hour danky spamming motherfuckers who like have turned into Fox News pundits. So they all became like YouTubers and streamers and shit, which is even worse. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, who could blame them? Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5, or you can get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. Let's continue.
Where you know that maybe you're not economically stable or you're not maybe in the best emotional state to have a child. And my mother has 5 children. And when I was born, my father was leaving. He was abusive. And we were on food stamps. She was in college. She was waiting tables and sweeping under chairs when she was.
Yes, it's the first story I covered. Go back in the VOD. I covered the Cornell West thing. Also, what I just said about like all of the fucking HasanAbi had turned like grifters, also relevant to the Cornell West story. Not saying Cornell West is one of them, of course. Cornell West is a legend, but you know, who he's aligned himself with are some of those people I was just talking about. Okay?
Was in labor with me. So I want to sympathize with that and say I know exactly that kind of economic struggle, that emotional struggle that a lot of women are in. But I don't think it's fair to say that people who are in poverty or people who might have mental health or emotional issues are selfish for bringing children into those situations. Because I think that you can still have and love a child in those situations. And I don't think that having children is something that we should reserve for the wealthy, for the people who don't have mental health issues. I don't think it's selfish for people who are not in those positions of privilege to have children.
For the rich, for the white, for those who are in a position.
So,
what the fuck? Like, this makes no fucking sense. Like, what they're saying makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Okay? Like, so the alternative is what? Forcing poor women who are in no situation to carry pregnancies to term, who might not even fucking survive it, by the way, like forcing them to carry pregnancies to term. Really? That seems like a great idea. Yeah, let's do that.
I just want to quickly respond to you, and there's a reason why I included that in my personal statement. It's because that's a personal belief that I ascribe to myself. I don't think generally that it is selfish to bring children into your circumstances. I retract myself from in putting my personal beliefs onto other people's experiences. I only speak from how I feel, because I'm the king of my own fate. And in the same way that your mother chose to have 5 children, I chose not to. But I don't want to ever take that away from anybody. I think if you feel like you have the means and you have the willpower to be a mother, to be a father, you do that. But that doesn't give you the right to determine for other people that they should also do the same.
Well, I think that's kind of ironic, personally, because I feel like that's exactly the point of the question. It's whenever a person decides to have an abortion, whenever a doctor decides to perform an abortion, whenever a medical professional prescribes an abortion pill, they are making a choice for that child and pushing that onto the unborn person. Then they are saying that the unborn person, you don't deserve to live. You don't have the right to live. You are not rich enough to live. You are not.
Yeah, I really don't care about anything they say now that I know that those hands might have touched like fetuses, like medical waste. it's just like kind of wild that they are able to like sneak in such progressive language when like they're literally doing fetus unboxing. It's like kind of something you shouldn't be able to turn around from. You know what I mean? Like, no, you're just like the most mentally ill person in most rooms, okay? Like, you could have a room full of some of the biggest psychopaths, and they'd be like, what? You fucking intercepted a medical waste truck to unbox a bunch of fucking fetuses? Like you touched that? Yeah, that's, honestly, that's a bridge too far for me. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Someone said Logan Paul in the chat, and yeah, actually, like, they make Logan Paul look sane. They make most unhinged YouTubers look normal. That's how fucking insane they are. That's wild. Actually.
Not privileged enough to live. You are not white enough to live.
What about the woman though? Like that like I've had this conversation with so many pro-life people, and it's always, oh, the fetus, the embryo, this unborn life. And I'm like, what about me? But I was actually going through it. You can have all these
That's a great question, actually. Yeah, what about my autonomy? I'm an alive and well human being.
hypotheticals about you're pushing this onto the unborn life. First of all, they never existed. They are not aware of their existence. It's not a hypothetical about what they could have become or you know, you're not giving them the right to life. They never existed.
First of all, they existed scientifically. Scientifically. An unborn.
This is, okay, so here's the other thing. Like, never forget, when an abortion activist is talking about science, there is no basis for their position in science. It's either philosophical mumbo jumbo about like what point life begins, okay? Which is, again, a matter up for debate. It's not like an established thing at all. Or, in the overwhelming majority of cases, it's just about your religious perspective. That's it, okay? They can try and science their way out of this conversation, but ultimately, it has nothing to do with science and everything to do with religion. They say science, like Ben Shapiro loves using that argument all the fucking time, because they recognize that if they keep talking about it from a religious perspective, it's not a very popular way to argue your point. They realized this recently, okay? They realized this in recent years. Back in the day, they didn't say science at all. They just said, "Oh no, it's just fucking, you know, it's Christianity. You're ridiculous. This is a life. God said life begins at conception." Okay? That is the underpinning of this argument. That is where the argument comes from. Life begins at conception. God said so. It's not science, it's religion. But now they've been able to mask it because of, you know, medical technology improving, and because of like because you can figure out the gender of the baby at an earlier age, like the gender of the fetus, because you can fucking because of ultrasound technology and whatnot, they can justify it and they can lie to you and say it's science. Not bullshit. Never let them say it's science. Okay?
Fetus matches all of the qualifications that NASA has for a living individual organism. Secondly, I'd like to say, what right does anybody have to mitigate the outcomes of their own mistakes by oppressing another?
I wonder what NASA's perspective on abortions is. Oh, fuck do you mean NASA? She said living organism, bro. That's psychotic. That is psychotic. Okay, so does an ant. An ant also qualifies for a living organism. So does that fucking thing that's in space. What is it, like an amoeba? Okay? How many of those would you kill in one fucking day without even thinking about it? The tardigrade, right? The tardigrade. You're trying to justify this by literally like expanding on the definition of life to such a fucking degree. Like trees fit the definition of life. Yeast fits the definition of life, and you eat it. Hand sanitizer, I don't fuck with that, is genocide.
Other human being inside of them by using unjust violence and excessive force against a peaceful being inside of them.
What about rape or incest?
I got pregnant from rape. 4 years ago, I got pregnant from rape.
What the
I was raped
fuck?
for years of my life. I have physical symptoms of that. I have reproductive issues as a result of that. But I think it's important to say that babies like my daughter Rachel, as I talked about before, and babies like my daughter Mira, who I got pregnant with consensually, are the same. They're DNA-wise.
No one said they're not, but like, what the fuck? Yo, she said, I had a child of rape, so you should too. What the fuck? Yo, that's crazy. I have no, listen, I am not even remotely interested in someone's like personal trauma if they are using that trauma as a weapon that they're wielding at that point, okay? If you are using your own personal trauma to force others into traumatic circumstances, you're a piece of shit. I don't give a fuck about your trauma, okay? That's absolutely insane. Also, by the way, remember, yet another instance where like you have Jubilee that set up a conversation between 4 normal fucking teenagers. Maybe one of them is an activist. I don't know. Okay. Against 3 people that work for an organization that get talking points from that organization that literally have unboxed fetuses. An organization whose like leadership committee member is facing prison time for unboxing fetuses. Fetus unboxing. That's crazy, man. You should probably put that in the video. Like, that's insane to me.
There is nothing different in the DNA, the human DNA, between a baby who's conceived in rape and a baby who's conceived consensually.
So you're telling raped women that they should be having their children? Are you going to make that decision for women that are raped just because your experience, you think that it was ended up being a good idea for you to have these children? Are you then going to stand here and say that all raped women should have their children?
Are you going to stand here and say that children who are conceived in rape are somehow different than children who are conceived consensually?
No, because I don't see a difference.
Then why are you bringing it up?
I would also say that abortion is not evidence-based.
Why are you bringing it up? Because in her argument, which is the valid one, it's not about like the potential for life or the DNA or whatever. It's about the autonomy of the carrier. That's why she's bringing it up. You know one of them are going to complain about you on Twitter. I don't give a fuck, dude. They always do. There's nothing you can do about that. And then they'll do the whole, like, I'm a fucking neurodivergent minor. How dare you come after me, sweetie? Bullshit. You know what I mean? It's always like that.
Care for rape victims. There's no research that shows that the outcomes of rape victims getting an abortion is better than those who do not. So
I feel sad about this one, Braden. He just seems like a normal person. Like, he doesn't seem as unhinged. Maybe he hasn't like talked that much. That's why. Like, the 2 dudes have been surprisingly quiet throughout this entire process. She's a demon. Okay, straight up. She is like very much invested. Just wait. Maybe I'm speaking too soon. Yeah.
So
I know he's a part of the group. I know he's a part of the fucking fetus stealing group. I know. Fetus stealing coalition, which immediately is like fucked vibes. He just seems, he doesn't seem to be as bad.
we want to go purely based off of medical science and evidence-based care.
No.
Yeah.
I will push back that we do have statistical evidence that shows that women who have
I think it's okay, I keep pausing this, but like, I think it's kind of funny that like these conservative groups have basically picked up like the most annoying aspects of liberalism, which is just like weaponizing identity politics in areas where like it doesn't even make sense. Like leftists and liberals do this all the fucking time. Radlibs love doing that shit. Everybody thinks it's annoying. And I don't really know why these fucking weird conservative freaks have decided like, no, that's actually great. We should be fucking as annoying as we possibly can while also simultaneously like hit it from a right-wing angle. It's the worst part of being a liberal. It's the worst part of being a leftist. It's the worst part of like being ostensibly on the left, okay? That like you are constantly fucking getting woke scolded by a bunch of narcissistic dipshits who mask their narcissistic desires to be centered in every fucking conversation with like, empathetic academic language. It's very weird that they think this is a successful strategy when it is absolutely not. But of course, it's because everyone's a liberal, as I always say.
Have access to abortion, and in societies where abortion is accessible, there is an overwhelming decrease in the amount of abortions obtained, and there's also an increase in the economic, emotional, and physical advancements of the people who have access to that care. And I will acknowledge, because I do think that what was inside of me, what was inside of you, I personally believe it is a life. It is. I mean, I held mine in my hands, but to equate that to me, an already birthed human being, this thing, I have a photo of it in my phone. I was going to bring my ultrasound as well, but I thought that would be triggering for some people. But what I possessed in my hands when I took it out of my pants, when I expelled it from my body, I think it is ludicrous to equate that to me. There was no head, there was no arms, there was no legs, there was nothing there.
How far along were you?
I was 5 weeks and 7 days.
You were 5 weeks and 7 days?
Yes.
Yo, she's about to say some fucked up shit, dude. I can tell. I can already sense it. My spidey senses are tingling. She's about to be like, did you know that they can listen to classical music? I'm going to lose my fucking mind if she says some bullshit like that. Oh, God, please don't fucking do it. Oh, brother. Okay, so before 6 weeks is literally like this, okay? It's like a gummy bear, but a gummy bear has like discernible features, but the fetus does not, for the record. It's like, I mean, I sometimes end up trivializing it a little bit, and I do that deliberately, but it is basically like, for those of you who don't know, the abortion process, which for the record is more than 80% of abortions occur in the first trimester. In the first trimester, it is a process that is oftentimes as uncomplicated as as taking a pill, okay, and then expelling the fetus out. Like you're just pissing the baby out, okay? It's like a heavy period. It can literally happen to people. It can literally happen to people without them even realizing it. Like sometimes you might not even know that you were with child, and then you literally have like a super heavy flow period, and you're like, and it hurts, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? And 93%. I thought it was 80. What the? Oh fuck, I was wrong. I haven't talked about this in a long time. But yeah, you can sometimes literally have a non-medically induced abortion or a miscarriage, okay? Damage control, you got to stop, Chief? What do you mean? Why? I dropped a clot earlier this year that I figure would have had rights in Texas or something. Yeah. I've also made this argument a lot as well. Conservatives love fucking yelling about this, but I have made this argument before, like in a fucking fire in the pregnancy ward, in the maternal ward or whatever, if you have the capacity to save 20 fertilized eggs or one birthed baby, you would save the baby that was alive and not the 20 fertilized eggs. Technically, though, the 20 fertilized eggs are supposed to be fucking 20 lives. You know what I mean? You wouldn't do that, though. You just wouldn't. If that was the case, then the greatest genocide of all time would be happening in vitro fertilization, okay? Do you know how many fucking fertilized eggs don't make it in vitro fertilization? Oh my fucking God. That is like way more than the number of abortions, okay? Like we're talking millions are being butchered, but nobody fucking cares about it like that. Okay? Nobody fucking cares about it like that. Nobody talks about it like that. Some of the freaks actually will also say that they're anti-in vitro fertilization. Okay? I know. It just depends on like how far down the freak pipeline you are. But ultimately, we're talking about like normal people. If you're making an argument, you can just explain that.
And I had the privilege.
Do you know that at 5 weeks a baby has a heartbeat?
It does not.
Ah, she did it! I paused for the longest time because I did not want to hear what she had to say. And boy, did she go there.
First of all,
That does not.
It has a two-chambered heart.
No, heart cells
Does
can
not.
beat in a petri dish if you remove it. Heart cells, it's electrical impulses, but I mean,
Woo,
when we
spinning.
talk about life, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think when you draw the conclusion of what is life, I don't think that is a legal question. I think that is a moral and philosophical argument. And when you try and establish what is life, I mean, there are plenty of instances where we acknowledge that there is life, and yet we make decisions for them. When people are brain dead, we acknowledge that there is life there, and yet they are dead. I feel like when you try and say, well, this is life, so therefore it is deserving of rights, we extend more rights to someone who is hooked up to a machine, keeping them breathing without any conscious experience, and we extend to them more humanity than a woman and her body. And my argument is simply bodily autonomy. I think in no circumstance shall we force somebody, should the state, I should say, should the government compel somebody to use their body against their will, even if they are personally responsible for the individual. It's the reason why, even if you have a child and that child needs you for bone marrow or blood transfusions, the state cannot compel you and hook you up to a machine against your will to force you to keep that individual alive. And I think and when we live in a democracy and we prioritize human rights, you have to put bodily autonomy above and preserve it regardless, even if you were a drunk driver and your irresponsible, illegal actions led to the harm of another person. The state cannot put you in a position where your body must be used as a resource against your will. I think it is a violation.
Okay,
And
firstly,
what you would like to do.
I asked you about evidence-based care involving rape victims.
Okay.
Not economic outcomes after a random
I wasn't
person keeps a
arguing off
pregnancy.
the rape.
Well, as I said, you said, yes, we do have statistics, and then you brought statistics that had nothing to do with what I said. I would also like to say that the whole bodily autonomy argument, it doesn't hold up. Pregnancy is ordinary and healthy care 99% of the time.
Wait, first of all, that's literally an insane fucking take. In America, pregnancy is absolutely a deadly endeavor. Okay? As a matter of fact, for black women, especially so. Okay? It is the most deadly nation out of all of the OECD nations. The United States of America, for all women, okay, but especially for black women, but for all women, is the most deadly nation for pregnancy. Okay? So that's fucking insane. To just like lock someone by force into this deadly endeavor is crazy. Okay? You know what's actually ordinary and healthy care? Abortions. Okay? A medically induced miscarriage is quite literally the peak of like a health procedure that is between a doctor, a healthcare professional that is knowledgeable, and the person, the carrier. Okay? That is significantly healthier than forcing someone into to carry a pregnancy to term. Straight up.
Yeah, we have not comparable to hooking you up to a random person. Your offspring is your child. They are genetically and emotionally related to you from the moment they are inside of you. My baby is literally grimacing right now inside of me. They can make squint faces. So it's not even comparable to...
Yeah, your baby's fucking cringing because your baby's mom is a fucking freak, dude. That's why the baby's fucking grimacing right now inside of you, because they're like, dude, what the fuck? What kind of unethical? Speaking of philosophy, antinatalism is a philosophical perspective that will probably not get mentioned here. But, you know, your baby's probably like, bro, I am not consenting to being born to this fucking awful world, okay? Imagine being the kid that has to watch your own mom say this shit about you. I want to quote that bike Karen video so bad. That baby's going to come out what?
Relationship between a child and the relationship between a rando, but you do not get to mitigate the outcome.
Yeah, Constance definitely touched a bunch of fetuses, bro. Constance got that. She's got that. I was the one who was infiltrating who was intercepting the fucking medical waste trucks energy. Okay. Stop. You are going to get canceled for what, dude? This freak on the left, okay? Literally, once again, this freak on the left works for an organization that straight up did baby unboxing, okay? Like medical waste, fetus unboxings, dead baby unboxings, okay? From their perspective, those are dead babies. Not my perspective. Her own perspective was, these are dead babies, hundreds of them. And then they had a funeral for some of them. And then some of them they kept in the executive's house, who is currently under criminal investigation. She's like, you know, she's going to go to jail.
Comes of your choices by violently ending the life of another human being that you are responsible for bringing into dependency on.
Even if I invited someone into my own home, a friend, a family member, I have the means, if I choose, if I tell them I do not want you there, by my own choices, I allowed that person into my home, into my space, into my domain.
The libertarian
and then I change
argument.
my mind and I rescind my consent. We have the ability.
Yep, the non-aggression principle, libertarian argument for, for being pro-abortion.
It's called self-defense. And I'm nowhere near arguing that pregnancy. Let me clarify now before you jump to conclusions about what I'm saying. We have no issue with, and again, I'm not saying that pregnancy is the same as self-defense, but in those arguments, even when you put yourself and you put another person to a state of dependency, when you invite them into your home, you have the means to remove them. And I think when it comes to your...
Yeah, you fucking scream maritime admiralty law as you punch your fucking belly over and over again, and then take a tumble down the stairs. And then that's how libertarians do it.
Body, and I'm just arguing in terms of the state. There's a lot of things that I disagree with in terms of like people smoking cigarettes, because we have evidence that shows secondhand smoke kills. You can kill somebody from the means of you having an addiction to cigarettes. But
for the record, we haven't even reached, she's done such a good job of like addressing all of the very immediate like counters, and we haven't even gotten to like the actual legislative problem, which is like what happens when you do criminalize abortions and how you are supposed to make sure that like you can ensure that people, once it's criminalized, are no longer getting back alley abortions. Okay? Because that opens up an entirely different can of worms, some of which is happening right now. It's unfolding in places like Iowa, Ohio, and the like, where doctors are like afraid to even do, to even conduct medically induced miscarriages on people with ectopic pregnancies and things like that, where the fetus is a genuine danger, presents a genuine danger to the carrier. So, you know, we haven't even gotten to that part. And then there's also the regulation aspect, which is like, how do you regulate endangering? If you consider your fetus to be a full-blown human being, how do you regulate like a pregnant lady, for example, you know, carrying something heavy? You know what I mean? You can get a miscarriage that way. So what are we going to do? Are we going to fucking call on our neighbors who are like, if you have a pregnant lady like mowing the fucking lawn next door, you call the cops, they come over, they arrest her, and then they what, like forcibly make her live out the end of her pregnancy in a jail cell? Is that what we're gonna do? How else? What are we gonna do? How do we figure out if someone's actually pregnant and they're like, are we gonna track their abortions? Oh wait, they're already doing that. They already are doing that. Like, police in certain instances have actually subpoenaed, those pregnancy apps that, or not pregnancy apps, the menstruation apps, the period tracking apps. Every miscarriage is now going to be an investigation. Should we be using our resources this way?
Should we punish that person for the choice that they made simply because they?
But can I ask something? What about the child inside of you?
There was what I passed in my hands was not a child, and I think it is very disingenuous to say what I held in my hand is any of you. It just wasn't.
What was it then?
An embryo. It's like
Well,
a
what-
clump of
what's
cells.
an embryo?
What is an embryo?
It's a clump of
Bro, it has the potential to be life. It doesn't mean it is life. And that potential could be stopped at any given moment by the carrier. That's the entire point of why abortion should be legal, okay? Like, that's it. There is no fucking life without the carrier consenting to it. And if the carrier doesn't consent to it, and newsflash, that's precisely the reason why making abortions illegal doesn't actually stop abortions. It just makes them, back alley abortions, which are very dangerous to the carrier, with plenty of other complications. That's the entire point. That's the entire reason why abortion should be legal. Okay?
cells.
Well, an embryo is just a term
It's an
for
organized
the stage of
body.
It's
a
not
certain
the
stage
same.
of
So when we
development
talk about
in the process of entire human life.
Right, I agree.
So it is
So it's
still a human
it's a
being.
human life. So you just
But
agree.
is the egg unfruitful?
Fucking owned. Look at this semantics. Like, oh, well, yeah, dude. When I'm aborting from a mission, I'm also ending a life, technically. Like, that's, like, you can use, semantics is such a stupid way to, like, have this conversation. It's like you use abortion, like, you can say abort in different settings. It doesn't immediately mean you are ending, like, a human life.
Fertilizer.
Yeah, it is so childish. It's so fucking dumb, especially when you're like, especially when you're talking about like something so severe with like such severe real human consequences.
Is that a human being?
No, because fertilization.
Hold on. One at a time. I want to hear what you guys have to say.
So an egg is distinct from an embryo because an embryo is a genetically distinct whole organism. It's not merely just a part like skin cells, egg, sperm. Because we can tell that because if you were to apply the net test, so like any amount of nutrition, any environment, or any amount of time, like an embryo will develop into a mature member of its species, but sperm.
No, it won't. And this one didn't. Hold the L, embryo. She should have held it and been like, hold this fucking L, embryo. Okay? You just got aborted. Like, no, it didn't. Hey, guess what? It fucking didn't. Okay? That's it. That's the point.
Sperm, egg, skin cells, tumors, they're not going to develop into a
Right.
whole organism, so it's not the same thing.
Oh yeah, of course. I do. I absolutely agree. I think an embryo is a stage of development, but I don't think you afford that stage of development the same human rights that you would a full-grown human being.
And why is that?
It's the reason why we make a distinction between children and adults. A child can develop into an adult. Do we automatically ascribe them? You can drink, you can vote. Well, they are not that yet. And why make that distinction but then say
But how does that give us the authority to kill the child?
I'm not saying give you the authority to kill a child, but I think if that the argument that I'm making is I feel like there is a fundamental difference between something being attached to you, reliant on your resources, and something being dependent on you for other types of resources beyond your physical body. It's the reason why I'm making a reference to blood transfusions and organ donations, because that is directly attributing what your body needs to survive to give to somebody else to help them live, as opposed to a child that is already born that simply needs your labor and financial resources to keep them alive and support their already existence in living on their own.
But when we're talking about the value of human life, I don't think it's at all fair to say that an unborn child is worth more than their mother or who would be their mother. I don't think it's fair to say that the mother's needs and her state of life or their state of life don't matter in that situation, because they do. And it's not this like killing a fetus for fun. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to be in that situation or to have an abortion. But like, you can't just act like we always should be prioritizing this, what isn't even a child yet.
But none of us are saying we're prioritizing the child over the mother. We're saying,
Yes, you are. Yes,
we're
you
saying-
are.
What happens during pregnancy?
What happens during pregnancy? The mother is trying to think of the word.
Succumbing?
Gestating.
Gestating.
Succumbing?
The mother is giving life to the fetus. The mother is supporting the fetus's life as it grows. And so what we're saying is that the child and the mother should be equally supported through the pregnancy.
Are they? No.
We're not saying that they are.
we're not saying that they are.
So supporting the financial needs of a mother is a need that can be handled through nonviolent means, whereas you guys are advocating for violent means to end the life
It's
of
not
a
violent.
person.
No, it's not violent.
Yeah, it is violent to rip, suction, starve. It is violent to take limbs off of people.
I had a
It is
pill.
violent to induce a heart attack. Yeah, and you
was a
starved.
pill.
You starved your embryo. That's what happened. That's how the pill works.
You probably do that in labs somewhere. That's how you
I do that
But
in germ cells.
but it's a human being. I feel like we keep getting away from the fact
It's not,
that
though.
but
There's nothing to
science
get away
states
from. It
that life begins at conception. It's a human embryo.
Science does not say that. The Bible says that.
No,
Science does
I have
not
a
say
question.
that.
Oh, yeah, there you go. They did it. They did it. Science says life begins at conception. No, it doesn't. No, it don't. Shut the fuck up. There you go. Shove those fucking bullshit words back in Braden's dumbass, virgin-ass mouth, okay? Sorry, Braden. Can't do that, Braden. Considering that Kaya can't complete this level 4 puzzle, I purchased him another level 2 puzzle so she can feel like a brave, beautiful, and brilliant girl.
For you really quick. I have a
Let's move on to the next prompt because it feels like the conversation is not going anywhere.
I did have a
Don't
question.
get a bunch of pro-choicers and pro-lifers together.
I'd rather abort a child than put them through the foster care system.
And this is, like, I didn't consider this until I myself was put into that situation where it's not just get pregnant, put the kid in the foster system. It's that, again, like I said, 9 months of pregnancy. And I would not go through those 9 months of pregnancy, even though if I had the option of giving my kid up to the foster care system, like, you have to still go through those 9 months of pregnancy. It's not just, you can just drop it off.
So I feel like first, before we get into this conversation, we need to establish how foster care works. As someone who is in the system, I understand how the system works. As someone whose parents were foster parents, I understand. The system is not something you can willingly just register your child for, not like the adoption system. Foster care is a system of the government to protect children who are in unsafe environments, that they see the child as being in an unsafe environment. My mother was a drug addict. We were living in government housing. We were homeless multiple times. My mother was severely addicted to alcohol, just not at a time in her place where she could really have a family, but she did have a family. And so my grandmother came and watched us. And my grandmother, over time, just really was convicted, because she was a devout Christian woman, of the reality that this is no environment for a child to grow up in, and she wanted to do something, if anything, to help us have a better life. And she knew financially she could not take us in, but she wanted to do something. So she called CPS, and CPS came and took me and my siblings away. Now, did I have the best experience of foster care? Absolutely not. I still live today with bruises and sores on my body from foster care. And I was in there up until I was 19 months old. I was a baby, but it still affects me to this day. And I really struggle when I hear people say that, like, a child in foster care is somehow less valuable because of the way that the government treats children in foster care, because I just don't think that's a correct opinion to have. To treat a child as less valuable is dehumanizing. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm 1,000% against dehumanization of any human being whatsoever.
I don't think anyone is saying that foster care kids are less valuable, though. Like,
Bro,
didn't mean that.
why are they're like, bro, is this like a Christian thing where you're just like arguing with demons? Demons that you made up in your own mind? Like, no one has ever said that. Like, you can't come up with a fucking good argument, so you just make one the fuck up. You know what I mean? Incredible strategy. All right, we're going to do a level 2. I have a 3-story contraption here, and I've filled it up. A level 2 has added obstacles that require your dog to combine actions to reach their reward. A level 3 challenges your dogs to learn sequential steps to find their treat using more complex mechanisms. And level 4 requires a complete series of steps in the correct order for them to earn their treat. Unfortunately, we now know that Kaya is too fucking stupid for level 4. Let's be real. She gave up. She gave the fuck up. This is it. She did. Don't act like she didn't. She gave the fuck up. Games begin. While this abortion video continues. Getting the barrier off without thumbs is hard. She can figure it out. Let's get back to the video.
No, nobody's saying that. I just wanted to make that clear. Do you have a uterus?
I do not have a uterus.
You do not have a uterus. So I'm not saying that your opinion is invalid or that you should not be included in this discussion, but I'm saying that that's important to keep in mind, is that you could never be in this position of having to decide whether you in your body want to keep and raise a child from your body.
You are arguing for the slaughter of human beings because you're pro-choice. And I'm standing here in where a fetus cannot.
Killing a fetus, so it's not a strong word.
It's really not. But could I just finish my statement? We're standing here in defense of the children because they do not get that voice, because they do not have that voice. Because
ain't no way she's given up already. That's insane. Oh, hold this fucking L, Kaya. Come on now. She cracked through a level 2 puzzle so easy last time. What's happening here?
Because they are in the womb.
So then are you going to adopt it? I'm assuming you will, right?
That's not an argument you can make because I am currently not in the financial place to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a choice that I could make to become a foster parent. The issue is that becoming a foster parent is something that you register with the state. It's not as easy as just saying like, well, you can just one day become a foster parent. It is a long, tedious process. It's expensive. There's tons of things that go into it.
Yeah.
I would also
Hundreds of
say
thousands of dollars.
You guys had something to say
We're
as
talking
well.
about a lot of who should have a voice in this discussion, but it's like the unborn don't have a voice. They're not yet able to like have a voice, but they are still human beings with dignity, and we ought to respect that. So I think it's like, I think we really need to sort of figure out, it's like, what are we talking about here? Because if abortion doesn't kill human beings, then no justification is necessary. However, if it does kill human beings, no justification is adequate.
I always say that if murder was happening at the rate that abortions happen at, it would be Armageddon. Like, it is just absolute. Women, I think it's like a quarter of women will have an abortion in their lifetime. If that was happening, if an eighth of the population was being murdered, then it would be the purge.
Why do you think we're so distraught, though?
It doesn't affect you, though. Like,
But it doesn't affect us.
It doesn't. If I hadn't told you, you wouldn't know.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice
everywhere.
But why is every single person, even if they are not under my jurisdiction, the oppression of that person is my business. And that's what it is.
I respect that approach.
This is, to us, it sort of sounds like, if we're saying it's like, if you don't want an abortion, sort of just don't have one. Yeah. But we hear it sort of in the same way. It's like, if you don't like slavery, don't have a slave. We sort of hear it sort of in the same ways, because it's involving like it's sort of the destruction of the dignity of a human person. Like abortion and slavery violate the dignity of a human person.
So you're comparing abortion
I
to slavery?
actually agree with that. I actually agree with that, and I
Yeah,
think that
just
ties in
let-
nicely
time-
to
just-
this whole systems and foster care argument, because people argued vehemently at the time in which we were about to end slavery that we should not end slavery because we don't have the systems. We don't have the systems ready for all of the slaves that will now be free. There's no jobs out there for them. They don't have any land. Oh, we need to keep them as slaves until we have the right system. No, you don't get to degrade the dignity of another human being until you're ready for them to be here.
And black people are still suffering today.
Until you're ready. Until you are ready for them to live dignified lives. That's unjust.
I want to touch on the prompt about the foster care system, and I just wanted to emphasize that for me, I didn't take into consideration the foster care. I don't feel like anybody is less than. I don't think that you're less than. I think me and you are entitled to the same rights. Of course, just personally, when I made my decision, it wasn't a matter of I don't want my child to go to the foster care or be adopted out. That wasn't the question. What I took into consideration, what my boyfriend and I decided together was we did not want to put me through the physical constraints of pregnancy without him, because my boyfriend, he is a very traditional Christian, and I'm no longer religious. I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I'm not religious anymore, but I respect his views, and he carries a lot of views that you have, but because of his consideration to me and his approach to the family structure, he knew that he was not in a position to take care of me in that vulnerable time. In the weeks that I was pregnant, it was extremely hard for me. It was mentally and physically draining. The changes that were going on, it was to the point where I could not participate in the daily activities that one does, go to work, feed themselves, get out of bed. It was very psychologically difficult in that short period of time. And we knew at that point that it was going to be a very demanding and laborious pregnancy had I gone through with it. But because of how he feels and his responsibility and his duties that he places on himself as a man, he wanted to make sure that that experience of pregnancy, and when we do decide to have a child, I'm in a point where I can be cared for appropriately. Just the way I waited out, and again, it wasn't because this aversion to the foster care. In fact, I feel like we should better resources for those children because they have every right to be here. I'm more so focused on whether or not, again, should the government enforce and place themselves in such a personal matter when
Chat, I heard the abortion slavery comparison. The reason why I did not react to it was not only because I was educating my daughter, Kaya, on how to unlock this demon contraption, but also because I've heard it so many times. Oh, we didn't have any of the resources to end slavery, but we did it anyway. Like, yeah, it's not shocking to me. Guess what? You want to know another conversation piece that these freaks love fucking using? The Holocaust. Like, you can tell how absolutely insane an anti-abortion freak is by what comparisons they're making. They make comparisons to the Holocaust all the time. They'll literally say, like, the Holocaust is bad, but, like, think about aborted fetuses and how much worse that actually is.
and it's a matter of people using their bodies.
I would think most of us in some regard agree with you. I can't speak for everyone here. I don't know everyone's like various political beliefs. I think most of us would agree with you, and that's why we're pro-life, is because we see it as that's what the government is doing to children in the womb. The reality that the government could have just, because of the way that the government works and because of the way that the abortion system works, the reality that I just could be non-existent and not exist at all is horrifying. And the reality that my memory, my life, my genetic makeup, the people that fought.
Bro, this is so dumb. It's like probability, okay? That you can make that argument for anything. Like, it's not just like the foster system, okay? I hate that. You just would not have existed, just like you didn't exist for a lot longer than you have existed. Okay? You wouldn't know anything about it because you just would not have existed. Very dumb.
For years to give me rights, that can all just be erased. It's horrifying.
But it would have never happened.
Brayden is straight up coding as gay. Yeah, he could be. This is a progressive abortion, progressive anti-abortion movement. So, like, they have gay members. I think they might even have trans members.
It's not like it happened and then like it was erased. Like
I was conceived. My mother had the option to abort.
Yeah.
Therefore, it could have happened.
Parents should be informed if their teen is seeking an abortion.
So when I was being sexually abused, my parents didn't know. When my rapist...
She's starting to get rowdy with it. She's just fucking smacking it now. Oh, just like her dad. She getting angry at it and just trying to brute force the problem instead of like unwinding level by level each individual story. You know what's funny about this too? Like in the beginning, I don't know if you guys caught it or maybe you were too focused on the abortion video, but in the beginning, she also literally fucking did this thing where I took off the white piece for her and she just couldn't even smell that there was a treat underneath it and was just playing with the white piece. She just started biting on the white piece. Wait, you thought I was talking about the girl? No, I'm talking about Kaya. What? How does that even make sense? Anything I said? She's stupid. Leave her alone. She's not stupid. She's actually done a great job. But she got bored of it, as you can tell. And now she's fucking tormenting me again. Like, I'm bored. Come back in here and help me. Come back in here and help me fix it. Getting too big for the level 2 jail. Yeah.
Just found out that I had a pregnancy scare. He was like, I will f***ing kill you if this is the situation. I'll kill you. And I think that if I had gone into an abortion facility, as many girls and women have, and been forced by my rapist to have an abortion, I think that this is another I guess, part of a system where mandatory reporting fails, as it has many times in abortion facilities, particularly in Planned Parenthood. Parents need to be informed if their child's being sexually abused, and because mandatory reporting often fails in this way, because Planned Parenthood is a business and they make money off of what they do, I think that it's really important.
They're literally not. And also, hey, here's a way to like abolish the evil Planned Parenthood. Allow for Medicare for all to exist and then fund abortion clinics by the government.
Important for the parents at least to have this knowledge and to have this understanding.
Yeah, I think it's a really kind of tricky situation and topic to discuss just because there are so many, like there's such a breadth of situations that can occur and have occurred. And I'm so sorry for what you went through, by the way, but like that situation is really awful, and it definitely highlights how having parental oversight is good and important in certain situations, but also like there are situations where young people are in situations with abusive households, abusive parents, who if they found out that that teenager, that child was attempting to do something to care for themselves and to help themselves live the life that they need to, or for their health or whatever reason they might have for doing it, they'll be prevented from seeking care of any kind, not even just like an abortion. They'll be prevented from seeking any kind of sexual wellness care, health care of any sort, because their parent is aware that they were looking for that kind of support.
And I'd like to go off of what you're saying. I agree full-heartedly that there are different situations.
Oh, she's doing
where,
it again. Let's
it
go.
could be dangerous for the individual to tell their parents, and that's why I think pregnancy resource
Come on,
centers,
dummy.
which is
Yeah,
what we
there you
support,
go. Good
are
girl.
such a valuable tool, because they have the right to put protections over this young individual or older individual. And if they are in an unsafe situation, they house them, they feed them, they get
I
them
think
a
she got it.
job away from the area where they are.
I think she
You
might
know,
have
they do
unlocked the
stuff
second
to
level.
help, but also those situations and the situation where the child was conceived in, that child still has value. So that's why I'm a firm believer in protecting both the mother and the child.
I mean, I would also like to say that, like,
Yo, when Braden goes on these fucking monologues, I tap out. Probably because I still want to think that Braden is like a savable soul and like not an unhinged psycho for some reason. Mostly because I do have a soft spot for big boys, as you guys know, and big girls. Yeah. Oh, she did. She fucking got level 2 easy. What the fuck? Oh, she's spinning it. Look at that. Yo. What the fuck? I can't pay attention to Braden whenever he starts fucking going on a rant. Good girl, Kaya, good girl. Get back in there. Get the fuck back in there. There's one more level, Kaya. Get in there. Jesus Christ. Get back to work. Get back to work. Oh, ay. That dog yearns for the treats. Not enough, clearly. She has the white thing. Yeah, she eats the white pieces. Like, she just chews on the white pieces. Like, all the time.
like as much as young people don't like to hear it, and as much as I didn't like to hear it myself, because I had, you know, a messed up household, because I had a parent who was not a safe parent. I think that parents have rights. Uniquely, like the Ohio Initiative for Choice right now is trying to attack parents' rights, trying to make it so that people can get medical procedures or supposed medical procedures in abortions and not have to notify their parents. And there have been teenagers.
Supposed medical procedures. Meanwhile, if you ask freaks like this about family crisis, family planning centers, you know what I mean? That are fake abortion clinics, you know what I mean? She's like, no, that's valid. That's totally fine to like mislead young women and you know, try to actively lie to them to like move them away from abortions. Which, by the way, in many instances is often people, well, in many instances, literally a front for like some adoption scheme. That's number one. A lot of those like family planning centers are fronts by churches where they basically are like trying to create like an adoption factory. So remember that. That's really disgusting. And then the other part of it, yeah, I mean, it's like legal human trafficking. Okay. And a lot of women know that they are bullshit. They're not like a real abortion center. But because she's going fucking nuts on it right now. She's going crazy. It's not piss time. If she pisses right now, it's because of stubbornness, okay? She peed not that long ago. Don't be ridiculous. It's because she's bored. That's it. And I'm giving her mental stimulation as well. She just like refuses. She wants more than that. She needs to learn. She wants attention, and she needs to learn that like she's not gonna get it by barking. Chatters, you would have the worst dogs. I swear to God, you would have the worst behaved dogs. Anyway. The other thing I was going to say is that a lot of women completely are aware that these are like family planning places, but they still go to them because it's the best way. It's the most effective way to get a free MRI or ultrasound, not an MRI. Yeah. How fucked up is that? At the most well-funded, like, the most well-funded pregnancy care in the country is like nonprofits, church-backed nonprofits that are you know, almost entirely tasked with the purpose of misleading women and trying to dupe them into carrying pregnancies to term. I mean, there's significantly more than them than there are abortion clinics, so think about that. I might need to take her out. I'm actually a little worried. I'm going to wait until she's done barking, though. Let's continue with this, and I'll take her out real quick. Fucking goddamn it, she duped me again. She fucking got me. I hate this, but... Yep, I went to a family planning place to get a free ultrasound. Yeah, exactly.
And young women who have died from abortion procedures.
We have people that go and counsel outside of Planned Parenthoods and abortion facilities, and we've seen, like we've documented, reported to the state, suspicious behavior of people bringing busloads of minors in to have abortions. And, you know, it's one of those things that we just have to look at the reality and we have to address it.
There's actually statistics that say that the majority of women who have undergone sex trafficking report having more than one forced abortion, specifically saying forced abortion.
And we are against that too, right? We are against people being forced into abortions as much as anything else.
I think parents have an obligation to care for the child that they have in their care, and I think it is a parent's responsibility to support that child, of course. But then again, I feel like I'm speaking from a privilege of where I obtained mine when I was already a legal adult, so I didn't have to tell my parents. I just know for me personally, because I went to Planned Parenthood to obtain my abortion, and even when I obtained my birth control and my routine screenings from them, some of the questions that they always asked me was, are you safe? Are you in a safe situation? Are you doing this because you consented to it? When I obtained my abortion, they asked me, is someone forcing you? And they have signs all over in the clinic telling them, or telling patients that they are obligated to report if you are being sex trafficked or abused in some way.
The reason I disagreed was because I believe the prompt said teens should have to come to their parents. I am acquainted with someone who just had an abortion who is the same age as us, and she did not tell her parents. She has yet to tell her parents.
Well, I think we're talking about telling parents before the procedure, particularly, because that has ramifications. I mean, I'm sure afterwards there's some ramifications, but I think parents, like I said, would have the right to know before you get the procedure.
I have a question, because I think a lot of us are coming from the approach of like minors, but I'm saying, and specifically with my case, because I was already legally an adult when I had mine. Do you feel like even in cases, although we are teens here, I'm still legally an adult, should my medical information, now that I am legally able to obtain care on my own, because that's where I'm going to operate from, should, even against my wishes, should they be informed? Because I think for me, with such a sensitive topic, I want to go to them when I'm ready, because I'm coming here now sharing my story, but I was not prepared to come out with mine because it's still something that I grieve with to this day. It's still something that my boyfriend and I, we still tackle with every day. But I just don't agree with the idea that even though I'm a teenager, I'm still an adult and I should still have my choice to not expose my private medical information to my parent. If now that I'm willing and able to make that choice, that should be violated.
I think that we would all agree that, like, for an adult, you know, no, if you're a legal adult, you shouldn't have to tell your parents. However, I think we're specifically talking about minors.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible to find a middle ground on the issue of abortion?
Not possible.
I think it's possible.
I think there's some ways to find some middle grounds.
Yeah, I think we already have here today on like certain parts of it.
But that's on parts of it, not on the abortion issue itself.
Thank you guys for your time and your vulnerability.
We get it, man. We get it.
I appreciate
We
hearing
get
your
it.
experience.
You didn't find a middle ground. You're fucking still super anti-abortion.